Good day, class. Today, we want to look at the English language. As students, we write and speak the language every day, and we believe we are fairly good until we go into the examination, write exam, and we come out probably dissatisfied with our scores. What are the major problems that we have? What really militates this problem or instigates it? Today we want to start from the basics and learn the foundation of the English language. The English language is just like a building. It has parts, and before you can build on any land, you have to dig the foundation. If you do not know what to do when you are writing structure, you are not really familiar with the language. So today we want to look at the part of speech, and the part of the body. We have the head, the hands, the legs, the arms, and basically we have 8 of them. 8 of them. Now, pronoun, adverb, adjective, verb, preposition, conjunction, and interjection. They are divided into this part because of the function they perform. They are not automatically classified according to their name or according to their appearance. They are classified according to their function. So we need to have an understanding that a word can function in different ways, not because it's a name, so automatically it will be a noun. When you use it, how it functions in that expression is what we classify it as the part it belongs to in the classes of word. And today I want to start with the noun. But before I do that, I will group this into 2. We have the 2 parts that we classify this part of speech into. We have the open item class, then the closed item class. When you say parts are open, they're open because they are inexhaustible in the English language. You cannot exhaust the number of nouns we have in the English language. We have names being generated every day, so you cannot exhaust them. The verb too, we have other words that normally do not belong to the verb, but we can use them as verb as it places us. Then the adverb and the adjective. But the other 4, the pronoun, preposition, conjunction, and the interjection, they are closed items because when we use them, we exhaust the example. By the time we start giving example and we mention, we can exhaust them. And their function is limited, unlike other parts. So then I want us to discuss the noun, the function of the noun, the features, and every other part of the noun. And why? The noun serves as the head of the body. Without the head, we do not have the eyes, we do not have the nose, we do not have the mouth. There are so many things attached to the head. So when we have the noun, there are so many aspects. So we are going to concentrate basically on the noun today. The verb is the act of expression. Without a verb, we usually do not have a sentence. But by the time we get there, we discuss how that one will work like that. And the expression, let me give example to illustrate what I've just said. So meaning that when we have a word, we can use it in many forms. Here, the examples of the board are to buttress the fact that a part of speech will only function, will only be determined by the function it performs. Let's consider the first sentence. Larry is my father's only son. Larry is my father's only son. If I want to classify each of the word here, Larry is a noun, the name of a person. Is the verb. my, father, and only are qualifying the son. Larry is my father's son. So there we have father functioning as adjective, only as adjective, because they are describing the son. The son is the focus, is the object of the sentence. So we have only functioning as adjective. The same word, only, now comes to the second sentence. He realized his mistake only now. When did he realize his mistake? Only now. That's when, telling us time, indicating time, is an adverb, giving us more information about when a particular action occurs. So we have only functioning as adverb there. The next set of sentences, we have the bank manager is here. The bank manager. Here we have bank. Naturally, when you are giving bank as a word in isolation, you will assume it's a noun that asks us what part of speech is bank. You will tell me it's a noun, but here it is not functioning as a noun. Bank manager. The manager is who we are focused on here. So the bank here is an adjective qualifying manager. The second sentence says, I usually bank with First Bank PLC. Bank with First Bank. I perform a particular action. I have an interaction, a business with them. So the word bank here is functioning as a verb. So it is no longer a noun or an adjective. And the third sentence says, I am going to the bank. I am going to the bank. The bank there is a noun. Where are you going? Which place are you going? It tells us the place and is the bank. So a word can function in different ways. We have to determine that when you see it in context and the function it performs. Then now let's take a noun as a topic. Earlier, I told us that the noun is the edge of the parts of the body. And the English language is the body we want to look at. We have determined that we have 8 of them, and now is the head, like the head of the family. Now, here we call it the name of anything. Animate, inanimate, people, places, things, objects, name, anything called name is a noun. In elementary school, we usually sing about it. A noun is the name of any person, animal, place, or thing. We sing, when you ask a nursery school pupil, that's what we say, yes, nouns are naming word. So, what are those names? Are those, when we talk about now, just the name we give to people or names of places. For example, Ibadan is a place, but in Ibadan we have other smaller places, the towns, the villages, we still give them name too. So how do you differentiate between them? See, are they just names of people? Are they just names of any other thing? Yes, like I usually say, once you buy a dog, any animal, and you give the dog a name, that thing is a name. But the dog itself, the identification, the moment you mention a dog, you will expect an image of a particular species of animal that looks like that. Something to identify, specify that this is what you are describing, name of anything. Then are different types that we categorize noun to. But basically, we can categorize noun into 4 broad parts. Type of noun. The first one is the proper noun. I want us to pay attention to proper noun. People usually believe that it is only names of people and names of places that are proper noun. No. Proper nouns are specific names given to people, given to building, given to newspaper, titles of book, titles of people. No, we have names of sheep that we buy, that we keep as personal property. Names of particular names of animal that we keep as pets. All of them can be categorized under proper name. Now, when you say titles of people, when you say professor is a title. It is not just people now probably adopt calling their children professor by using as nickname or even birth name. But notwithstanding, as a title, when you refer to professor or doctor as a title, we consider it a proper noun. Because the moment you say doctor, you expect a particular aura from that person. That this person is a doctor, medical or academic. Either of the two is proper noun. Then, yes, days of the week. One will wonder why days of the week are proper noun. Yes, the moment you mention today is Monday, you expect a particular thing to happen on Monday. Saturday, we are the weekend already. Identification specifically. They are proper noun and they must be treated as such. What is peculiar about proper noun? Proper noun must begin with capital letter in any writing, wherever it occurs. Whether at the beginning of a sentence, in the middle, at the end. Because they are proper noun, we treat them as such. They're not just left with days of the week, the names of the month of the year, from January to December. They are all proper noun, and they must be treated as such. You don't write small j as January. You have disrespected that word because it is proper. The j must always appear in capital. Then we have special buildings, institutions, names of school. They are proper noun. The University of Ibadan. When you write it, the article D, we usually excuse that you can start it with C, small t, but I advise my students, when you are referring to the name of a particular institution, ensure each of the words you use to describe it begin with a capital letter. The T of the article D, the U of the university, then the of can excuse you, we can write it in small letters, but Ibadan itself is a proper noun referring to a place. So cultural building, cocoa house. When you name a building, you identify that building by its name. So automatically it becomes a proper noun. When you write anything proper, specific name given to specific things, whether common or regular, you should ensure that you start it with capital letter. Then other things that we need to know about that, I mentioned titles of book, then special festivals, Ramadan, Easter, Christmas, and so on. All of them are proper noun. I want to move to the second type of the noun that we want to discuss this morning. You can only probably guess their number. So when you talk about sound now, it will be very, very bad for anybody to punish you, to ask you to start counting the sound there. You can only measure, say, how many trucks of sound do we have? You can get me 4 buckets of that sound. You can't count them. You cannot count oil, but it's something we use. We name it. We know it's oil. Whether palm oil, whether petrol, whether any form of liquid form. You cannot count water. You use cup to describe water. You use glass cup. You say units. You say buckets. You say, now let me have the gallon of water. But you cannot say, give me some waters. When we do that, we are now talking in the terms of probably seas or oceans. When we are talking about different type, but water is water. Then the same thing applies to concrete and abstract. Concrete nouns are those ones that fall under, most of them fall under count noun and not count noun, such as table, such as chair. We can have book. Concrete can still have oil under concrete. Why? Because we can see and touch. Anything we can see and touch are concrete. They are concrete. You can feel them when you touch them. But when you call something abstract, it's in the abstract because you cannot see or touch them. You can only feel them. We feel headache. We have emotion. We feel love. We feel happy. So when we talk about happiness, we are still talking in the abstract. They are feelings. They are not something tangible or with substance that we can touch. So when we talk in the abstract, we are talking about those words we use those words we use to describe feelings, but not things that are tangible, that we can touch or see with the naked eye. So concrete and those counts and not counts now that we can see and touch, like all that I mentioned, city, state, we can see it, a soldier, and other several things like that that we know we can see. But the moment you talk about abstract and concrete now, we cannot touch them. Abstract now, we cannot touch them, we can only feel them. So when we describe a shop or furniture, I want us to discuss this under no counts now. When we have furniture, equipment, we categorize them under no counts now. And when we use them in the plural, we are not expected to add s to them. The moment you add s to them, you have destroyed the grammatical structure of those words. The other word that falls into that category is advice. Advice. Say a piece of advice, but you don't say, give me some advices. It is the very wrong expression. So you can say a piece of advice, items of equipment, say some items of furniture were delivered to the house this morning. So we have the abstract and the concrete, like I've explained to us, well, like freedom, anger, hunger, love, information, and so on fall under the abstract category. Then the concrete, you can see them, you can touch them, but they are still not count. Water, oil, bread, sound, blood, and so on. We can see them, we can touch them, but we cannot count them. Then I'll go to the next type of now. Oh, that's good. Excellent question. Somebody in the audience has just asked examples of count noun. I didn't put that. Now, when we talk about count noun, those nouns of things, people, and objects we can see, touch, and count are count noun. They are and so on, like that. Those things, we can see them, they are close to us, we can count them, so we can talk about them in countable manner. What I need to mention, that we have certain quantifiers that you can only use with count noun, and others that you can only use with not count noun. What are they? When we talk about few, a few, little, a little. Then here we can have much, and here we can have many. These three can only co-occur with count noun. Note, count noun. These three can only co-occur with not count noun. Let me give us example. Yes, you want to ask a question? Good. Somebody just asked me if you can use a few and few to mean the same thing. No. Just like you cannot use little and a little to mean the same thing. When you use few, you are telling me that you do not have sufficient. You don't have enough at all. For example, these sentences will best illustrate the explanation I want to give you about the usage of few and a few with count noun. Few people. People here is a noun and it's a count noun. Few people were present at the seminar. The implication of this is that we expected more than that. Just like we have in the Bible, many were called but few were chosen. Few people, we have less than expected, because probably we were expecting like 1,000 and just like 100 or 200 turned up. So it's few. But when I have a few oranges left, you can take some. That means you don't have that many, but you have enough to satisfy you and serve the purpose you need it for. Yes, I have a full. I am on doctor's prescription to use to take 8 oranges per day, and I bought it in bulk. I bought a basket I kept in the house. You come visiting, and you say, can I take some of your oranges? Say, why not? Let me see. Oh, I have a few left. I've already calculated. I have enough for that day, and when you take some, I can still have and fulfill my doctor's prescription. A few is more than few. So when you use them in that sense, when you are implying more, and when you are implying less. The same thing applies to little and a little. You use little and a little with no count now. Little or a little or a little more. No, little water. Add just a little water. Like when you have little, fewer to little. Under no circumstance must you use little with count now and few with no count now. They do not correlate. And many are much. We talk about money. Some people consider money as count. In grammar it is considered as uncountable. When you use money, you say, I don't have much money on me. You don't say, I don't have many money on me. Many you use with count. Money, although is countable, but the money in circulation, you cannot sit and count it. But when you talk about monies, you are talking about different currency that do not reflect the particular currency spent in your own home country. I think that is clear to us. Any other question we want to look at? The collective noun. The collective noun is a collection of things or the name that is given to an entity as if, or a group, as if they are one individual. It is usually singular in form but plural in usage. Let me take that again. Collective noun is a collection of things or the name that is given to a group as if they are individual. Usually singular in form, but usually used as plural in meaning. They are considered singular or plural depending on the usage in the expression. Let me give example of such words first before I use them in expression to explain my meaning. When we talk about team, everybody is aware that we have the World Cup, we have the Olympic, we have other international competition, and we usually have group of people that represent a particular country. And there is no particular, except for probably for athletes, that will go alone, usually go in group, but we call them team. Another example is the choir. Say, the choir is singing. The choir is singing, that expression, I've addressed them as singular. I didn't say the choir as singing. The choir is taken as a singular entity because they are doing that action simultaneously at the same time. So we have choir as an example. And a person does not make a choir. We have congregation. We use congregation. We use that to mean people in the church. The congregation is very, very cooperative today. The congregation are people gathered in the church to worship or to listen to a particular program. Then we can have audience. Where do we have audience? We have that in the theater. We have that in probably public places where we do a program. So when we talk about audience, though, it's different from crowd. So audience, I've mentioned crowd. Yes, crowd are a group of people just gathered in public places for no particular reason or probably being attracted by a fascinating incident going on. So, but when they are gathered for a purpose, so that they are gathered as audience, spectator, and then stadium where they are watching a particular match or other event, or choir, group of people singing. But what we need to know is that when you talk about them, you talk about them as a singular entity, except when you want to address them as individual. Let's consider this example using the team. The first sentence said the team represented Nigeria well at the Olympics. The team have been fighting one another since morning. For example, how many people make a football team? Somebody, the audience? Okay, somebody said 11, I don't know, but I'm sure the people that will leave the country to represent us will not be 11. So we have people on the bench and other officials with them, all of them constitute the team, and they represented us well. Everybody with his own function. So they are performing the action as a singular entity. The team has played today. I will not say the team have played. I'll say has played to indicate that I'm using the as a singular, addressing them as being one entity. But considering the second expression, I use the word have. I expect one of us to query it if I don't explain that. But why have? Since a team is considered as a singular entity. Here, the team have been fighting one another since morning. I'm sure when you fight, and we have about 11 people in a group, even if it's a free-for-all fight, each of them is performing the action at that particular time. It's just like saying the team are eating, rather than say the team is eating. No, they are not eating at the same pace, or they are not dining. Some of them might just be sitting and talking, but it is their period to dine. So you can just use that to indicate that each of them is performing the action. The plural sense indicates different action that is not a unified action. That's the condition where you can have plural with collective noun, as shown above. I hope that is clear to us before we move to the other parts of today's lesson. When you expand on the usage of collective noun, you use what you are describing: a team of players, flock of sheep, bevy of ladies, choir of singers, bouquet of flowers. But we can use the initials to still indicate that. But you should know what they refer to when you use them. You can find more examples on the collective noun, but particularly just know how to use them in expression. Now we want to look at the features of noun. What do I mean by features? Characteristics peculiar to nouns. We discussed the proper noun earlier on. Now we are reiterating that all proper noun must begin with capital letter irrespective of where they appear. The example on the board indicates that Ade is a proper noun. Although it's beginning the sentence, so it's expected that begin with the capital letter. Took money from Ola, another name. The O. Most of us, when we write, even our name, disrespect it, we begin our name with small letter, which is not good at all. At Bodija. Bodija is a place in Ibadan. So Bodija there should take a capital B to begin on Sunday. I mentioned earlier that the days of the week, they are all proper noun. So the S of Sunday should be bigger than the normal. So this should be clear enough to show us that when we write proper noun, irrespective of where it occurs, ensure that it begins with capital letter. And do not use any other word except the personal, first person personal pronoun I as capital letter anywhere. I usually have problem of indiscriminate use of capital letter. When you write words, you mix both capital and small letter together, your writing will lack I value, what we call I value. The moment an examiner or a reader sees it, who's the person of your writing. So you should note that you only write and begin first letter of proper noun in capital letter. Then the second thing we must know about nouns is that the moment you see expressions and you see articles, adjective, and quantifier, you should know that a noun is close by. Some of us, to identify a noun is a problem. You don't know when you have a noun. But when you see article, oh, this is an article, this is an adjective, definitely the word that will come next will be a noun. I have a giant pen. What you have is the pen. The pen that is the noun. So A is an article, still describing the pen. I have a pen. Then we have giant is an adjective here. So it's still describing the pen. So the presence of adjectives and article. I want to believe we understand what articles are. The article a and an. Article a and an. We use a with words that begin with consonant sound. Note that I said consonant sound, not consonant letter, because there are some words that actually start with consonant, but they are usually vowels in pronunciation. Example of such word I'll give you later in subsequent lesson. But consonant sound. But when we have an with words that begin with, we combine that with words that begin with vowel sounds. Example like oranges, when we have elephant and so on. But if you have a word like Europe, the E there shouldn't indicate that you are dealing with a consonant. The E is just a letter. It is different from the sound. But we will discuss that in subsequent lesson. Then, few. I mentioned it in the earlier, that's a quantifier to show quantity. Few, some, much, many, little. When you see them, they are usually followed by noun. So those ones are pointers to the fact that you have noun in that expression. Then the third point under the features is that noun show possession by adding apostrophe. We need to make this clarification, especially when we get to the pronoun. Most of us, we don't know where the apostrophe, where to use them. The boy's bag, singular. The apostrophe comes before the S, indicating that I'm only talking about a bag belonging to one boy. But the moment I have S before the apostrophe is used, then I'm talking about bags that belong to many boys, more than one there. When you use the plural, you have the apostrophe coming after the S. But when you are talking in the singular sense, it comes before the S. But the moment you change that noun to a pronoun and you want to show possession, the apostrophe disappear. You do not use apostrophe to show possession with pronoun. When we get to pronoun, we expatiate on that. The next feature of noun we want to look at is that nouns are capable of taking suffixes to produce new words of the same class or another. When you add a word to a suffix, it can still give you another noun, or it can give you another class of word. So some of the examples I've written on the board, we have a nation. A nation is a noun. By the time you add U to it, you produce another word, which is equally a noun, nationhood. Fame plus the suffix OUS will give us famous. He is very famous. There we have an adjective from the word fame. We have class and room. Both are nouns. And when you combine them, you have a compound word, classroom. You have agree, though it's a verb, but by the time you add met to it, it will give us agreement. Disagreement. We even add a prefix to it, it will give us a noun still. Disagreement, agreement. Roommates, both are nouns, and you can use them to produce another noun. So most compound words are usually noun. Teacup. We say teacup. We have tea, we have cup. Combine them, you still have another noun, and so on and so forth. And mostly you can form many nouns from adjective. When you talk about wise, is very wise. They become a noun when you use the word wisdom. Length, you said, the length of this become lengthy, and so on, breadth, and you can form many words from when you add them. Now you consider the noun that now is capable of transforming from singular to plural. The common way of doing that is to add s or es, but not all words can take that form. Yes, we add s to words that are very common. When you talk about boy, you add s to it, become boys, more than one boy. Talk about orange, but you add orange, it becomes oranges. It ends with a e, and it just add s to it. We have class, we have es, it becomes classes. We add when you have other words, simple or pen, become pens. But there are some of this word that we go through internal change before they can realize their plural form. Example of such word: we have foot, we have tooth, we have man, we have woman. The same number of letters, but we want to realize their plural form. They will undergo internal change. Foot will become feet. Tooth will become teeth. Man will become men. And woman become women. And other more like that. We can add es, ies, or ren, like we have in child and children. We have in ox and oxen. Note that they are still plural, and you are not supposed to say childs. Talk about children when you are using the plural of that. There are some words, there are no shortcuts to them. You just have to learn them. So it will be very sad for students in your category to write mans as the plural form of man after going through this kind of lesson. And you're supposed to do more research on the peculiarity of transforming nouns from singular to noun. But I want to point our attention to certain ones that we do all the time, especially the one we usually convert from VES, words that end with the Y. When do you know when to add VES or when to just add S? Oh, a question. Okay, prefix and suffix. Yes, I was explaining, I said nouns take suffix. Somebody wants to know what we mean by suffix. And in my explanation, I'm sure you had me mention prefix. Prefix. Let me just use this column to explain. Pre means something that comes before. And suffix that come after. There is an aspect of grammar we call the morpheme. The morpheme is the smallest meaningful units of grammar. So it's not usually a word. It can be a word. It can be just a combination of letters. But by the time you add that letter to another set of letters, you will get your word there. So we have the free morpheme and the bound morpheme. The free morpheme are those ones that can stand as word, read like boy, before we add the ood to it. But the bound morpheme found, they fall under the prefix and suffix. So we generate more words as we talk. We call something neologism. Neologism in grammar means that the creation of new words to suit our immediate need. There are so many words we use these days that we were not using in our days because of the advance in technology. In my days, there was nothing like the internet, the download, the upload. In fact, I had to ask my children sometimes to guide me when I need to use it because we weren't using them. But we create new words from this. So we need to add prefix, come before. The example I gave about disagreement. When you now have this here, this is pre, comes before agree. This is the root word. The root word here is agree. So with agree, we can build on that to create new word. We can have disagree. From disagree, we have disagreement. Suffix, we come after. The met here is a suffix. We have them so many. We have the on, we have the un, the in, the ir. When we use with irrespective, and we have the il, illegal, and so on like that. Those words are called affixes under prefix and suffix. In continuation of our discussion on plural, how nouns generate a plural. So I want to call our attention to words that end in y. Some take ies as the plural form. Some just add s. And there are very clear distinctions on how you can determine that. Now ending in y, preceded by a consonant. Now there is no way you can talk about grammar without really referring to the sound by consonant. The consonant letters, we know them. If you remove the a, e, I, O, U, just like the vowel sound, every other letters, the 21 remaining letters, are consonants. So when you have a consonant sound preceding the Y, like we have here, in fact, in speech work, we call this one consonant clusters. The last three letters here, they are clustering because they are all consonants. So when it's preceded by consonant, you change it, the Y to I, and you add ES. Just like we have in beauty, we have in currency, we have in candies. So by the time you write the plural, you change the Y to I, and you add ES. But when now ends in Y, but it's preceded by vowel sound, you add just S. You don't need to do any other justice to it. Do not do any change. Just add S to indicate that this is the word. It ends with vowel sound. Note that you will consider letter Y as a consonant sound. But when you pronounce it, you are not pronouncing Y. There is no even Y in English sound. You know, the equivalent you can have here, the closest we have to Y is the Y sound, written as J in sound. But we have surely E. When you pronounce this, it will give us the vowel sound. So you just add S. This one, key, just like monkey. When you have key, you add S to show that there is no clustering of consonants at the end there. Valley, holiday, Sunday, all these ones are pronounced as vowel. So when you want to change them to the plural form, you add just S. Then the one for F, converting to VES. There is no particular method, but the English grammar is just structured in a manner that you just have to learn when to use them. You know, I tried to make research on probably, just like we discovered with this, but I discovered that there is no particular method. You have to learn them, the words you use, with the exception of few words. Most words in English, when they end with F or FE, you convert them to VES, like we have in wife, like we have in thief, but exception. Those words are not many. I even went online to search for many. I came across about 4 of them. So roof, and I think what we did with some too, with consonant and vowel sounds, they beats very close to it, but not as much as is really reflects with the Y. We have the roof, we have the cliff. When you have it, we have the giraffe. You say giraffes, you don't say giraffe, you don't convert the F to V. We say soft, somebody that's soft, SUFF. RF. Somebody that surf on the water. So when you want to write the plural form, SURFS, you add that. Then there are other words that are not just common. And those words, English is, I won't call it unoriginal per se, but English borrowed from many countries, many languages. We have some words that are French, in origin, some that are Latin, and some that are Greek. Most Greek and Latin words, they have peculiar form in their, when you want to convert them to their plural. Word like curriculum, say curriculum, but when you have the curriculum, when you have the agenda, that agenda is a plural already, but people usually misuse them to mean the singular. The agenda, you have data, we have data, you have, medium is the singular form of media. We have focus, we have foci, like that. But those words, they are not really British in origin. They are usually either Latin in origin and Greek in origin. So you learn their peculiarity and their plural, especially. So those examples, you come across so many others like that do not generate their plural form by just adding S or ES. Another one that we usually use, criterion. Criterion is a singular form of criteria. What are the criteria? What is the criterion for gaining, entering these premises? What are the criteria? You learn them like that. There is a stadium. But now it is now acceptable to use stadiums, but usually we say stadia to mean the plural form of that and more. I think that's all I have for you on features of noun. Now let's consider the functions of noun. Please, I want us to really concentrate and listen, because this will build the foundation of the grammatical names and functions that we need to know as part of the criteria for passing the English language. Now I have three major functions. Three major functions. It functions as the subjects, function as the objects, and function as the complements. Function as the subject. What is a subject, or who is a subject? I expect that question to come from us, because somebody will ask subjects like mathematics, like the English language, like chemistry or physics. No. When we say something is a subject in grammar, we are talking about the doer of an action. Olu is my friend. I'm describing somebody. Who am I describing there? Olu. So at least you have a focus when you make a statement. Nigeria is a country. What am I talking about in that expression? Nigeria. That is the subject of that. It's just like saying subject matter of that expression. You can say the dog barking outside is disturbing me. What am I describing? What am I talking about? The dog barking outside. There is the subject of my speech. So when you talk about the subject, you are referring to the actor. Let's call the person the actor. Is the person that's carrying the action. But the object will now be the recipients of that action. If I slap the person standing by me now, just say the teacher slap the student. I perform the action, the teacher performs the action. The student receives the action, whether positive or negative. So the teacher, the performer, is the subject. The object is the receiver of that action. Then what do we now refer to as complements? I discovered that students tend to mix complements with complements. And the spelling matters. Let me take the spelling separate again. I'll clean it after I explain. Yes. Look at the two spelling. One is spelled with a E and one is spelled with a I. If you write the second one, for me, as answer when you are describing grammar, I'll miss it for you. Because to compliment means to greet, to probably say something nice about somebody. Compliments of the season to you. It complimented a good sense of dressing and so on. But when you are talking about compliments in grammar, we are talking about completement. The act of completion, when you complete something. Compliments. It complements that expression. And we usually have complements after the auxiliary verb, the be auxiliary verb. That's when we get to the verb, and we expatiate on that. So now function as complements. Can either be subject complements, it can complete the subject. I've told us that subject is the performer. The complement can complete the object, and sometimes it will complete a preposition introduced before that noun. So let's consider this example to illustrate the function of noun. The first example I have here is Michael is an engineer. Who are we talking about here? Michael. And Michael is on the line. They ask you, that's now, give me the function. The function will be subject of the verb is. Subject of the verb is. Know now that before you can decide on the function of noun, you have to be able to identify verb. If you tell me it's subject of the sentence, it is 0. We want to be sure. I told us earlier on at the beginning of the lesson that the verb is the act of any expression. When we do not have a verb, we are not talking about a sentence. So there, we want to know if you actually can identify the verb. So you say subject of the verb is. That means without that verb, that Michael is not really useful. Michael, an engineer. We expect you to continue. Yes, an engineer. Yes, what happened to him? You describe it. Are you pointing him out to a group of people? But that is not a complete expression. Subject of the verb is. The doer and the is the carrier of that expression that will take it further. You can have any other example. It can be any word, not necessarily name. The bottle can use anything as long as in the subject position. And note, another way to identify subjects, another very easy manner, is that subjects usually precede everything, usually come first. It comes first. He is the one that, I can say bold enough to bear the cat. We lead the expression. So when you usually have expressions that begin, if there is no comma, note, because sometimes you see when we move to grammatical structure under phrases and clauses, we can have other expressions. I can say, in the morning, I put comma, Michael was sleeping. That in the morning should not be considered as subject because it's leading the expression. In the morning, there must be a comma there to show that I was only telling us the time that person performed the action. But usually when you have expression that make complete sense, the subject usually precedes other expression. Then I said the doer of the action in the above is Michael. Therefore, it is the subject of the verb is. The second one, the way swallow the thieves. The way is the performer of the action there. But our focus is not on the way. I underline the thieves. What did the way swallow? Swallow the thief. The action is now performed on the thieves. So the thieves I underline here is the object, the recipient of the action performed by the way. Kike killed a snake. The snake is what Kike killed. Kike is the performer, but the snake received the action. So when it is the object position, you call it the object of the verb swallowed. The action performed by way there is the act of swallowing. So you don't say it's the object of way. No. It's not object of way. It's not object of the sentence. It is object of the verb. What action, connects the two, the subject and the object. The action is the act of swallowing. So you must write out the verb and you put in quotes we say object of the verb swallow. Then complements. You pay attention here because we have 3 complements. We have the subject complement, we have the object complement, and we have the preposition complement. When do we have each? The professor called his wife a genius. The professor is the actor. He talked about somebody. And who did he talk about? His wife. He called her something, a genius. I didn't focus on the professor, the performer of the action. I did not focus on the wife, who is the object of his action, but the description he gave to the wife. Now, I underline a genius. So who is he talking about there? The wife. And the wife has been identified as the object. So that is object complement. If you are asked to describe the function of that noun, just call it object complement. I can replace that with another word, which should be a noun. And note that I told us that now usually take article. I put a there. If I said the professor calls his wife an idiot, the idiot there is still complement. The understand is object complement, whether positive or negative. Then we have another one. The conductors are thieves. I didn't explain that, but I remember I explained this. The conductors are thieves. Look at the use of thieves. I use thieves here as objects, but here is not object. We do not have any object here. These are a be verb that only describe. Be verb only describe. We have 8 of them. The is, are, was, were, be, ing, been, and being. All those ones, when they come before a noun, they usually take complements. Be verb do not take objects. They only take complements. So you have the conductors are thieves. Who are thieves? The conductors. Just ask that question in your head. Who are thieves? The conductors. And the conductors are. Now here is the subject. So this is subject complement. Mrs. Kayode is a teacher. I underline teacher. You are only describing Mrs. Kayode. You are not telling us any information. She's not performing any action or transferring any action to anybody. So when you describe using noun, that is subject complement. Buhari is the president. President there is subject complement because Buhari is a focus of attention in that expression. Then the last one is the preposition, the complement of the preposition. The doctor bought a car from Olu. We have the doctor perform a particular action. He did something. He bought something, a car. Congratulations. So where did he get it from? From Olu. Olu is now underlined. She now asks you to tell us the function Olu is performing here. The moment you say that the word preceding that noun is a preposition, do not write anything. It's the complement of the preposition. Now write out the preposition. You now see the need for us to be able to identify each word according to the class of what it belongs. So if you do not know that from is a preposition, some students, when they want to write, said, after all, they said is the object of a noun, okay, of a verb. Said, okay, engineer, Michael is the subject of the noun and. I will ask them, give me the past tense of and. At least for a verb, you should be able to determine the past tense. Is it and? Is it and? Is it in? You know, by the time you cannot come up with a past form of that word, you are not dealing with a verb. So by the time we get to verb, we will explain more on that.
you.